Well, welcome in. I'm Ariyl Onstott. Thanks so much for streaming with us for your afternoon news. It is great to have you here. We want to get you guys up to speed on what is going on with the weather. One of the biggest concerns in our area is flooding, and our Alex Forbes has actually been out tracking some of these conditions for us. So we're going to go to meteorologist Alex Forbes for a check. Alex, can you let us know where you're currently at and what you're seeing?
Yeah, Ariyl, so we just got on Interstate 20 here in DeKalb County, and we are going to be headed out to the place where you can here over the next little bit and tracking some of this heavier rain that's lifting up towards the north up near Interstate 20 here for the next little bit. So we're tracking it on Fox 5 Live Viper, and we are going to continue to do it, not seeing the heaviest of the rain just now. I want to take you out on top of the roof here, and we are looking at some of the drops here on the lens and even out of the windshield here. That's certainly some wet roads. Had this flood watch in effect for DeKalb County where we are now. That's going to run now through tomorrow night. So that flood watch was pulled further to the east. But the steadiest of the rain arriving now in DeKalb County. It's going to be here for the next little bit. But as you check out Fox 5 Live Viper, you see there's a whole lot more where that came from, especially as you head out towards Madison and Greensboro. So that's the direction we are headed in now. Ariyl, as you know, it was the first day of school for a lot of kids, including here in DeKalb County and in a lot of metro counties. So it's a wet ride home for them right about now, and it's going to be a wet commute as well for people heading home from the metro Atlanta area.
Yeah, Alex, it makes a lot of sense that those who are getting ready for back to school might need an umbrella or rain jacket as they get off the bus. What areas do you see kind of being the worst affected as you're traveling? Where are you headed? Where do you want to visit throughout the day? Obviously, things can change, but what has your attention?
Yeah, so I think obviously the big blob of rain that's moving through right now is what we're watching most closely in terms of a flooding threat. Now, the good news is this area of rain that we are driving through now in DeKalb County has not necessarily produced all the flooding that we've seen over the past couple of days, particularly in western Georgia and just across the Alabama state line in Cleburne County. So these are areas that have not necessarily seen the 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of rain. So that's a piece of good news. But we are going to continue to see wave after wave after wave of showers here through at least tomorrow night. That is going to prompt those flooding concerns. In fact, coming up on a sign here, it says Wesley Chapel about 4 miles ahead, about 3.5 minutes. So not really looking at any concerns right now, at least in terms of traffic. But you're asking for specific spots into the afternoon. I would highlight going from Metro Atlanta into Gwinnett County up Interstate 85 as one of the wettest spots. And as you know, all those lanes of traffic on 85, whenever they get wet, that typically causes some problems, let's say, up there in Gwinnett County.
I would imagine. Alex, thank you. I know we're going to be checking in with you throughout the morning to get an understanding of what you're seeing and what people should look out for. So thanks for giving us a bit of a live look in the now and let us see what's happening near you. So we'll check back in. Okay, guys, I want to give you an update with Jonathan Stacy, meteorologist Jonathan Stacy, who is standing by for us, ready to give us the lowdown on what to expect into the future. Jonathan, I know Alex was saying he's looking towards Gwinnett. He's looking at some of these different areas. What is radar showing you?
Radar is showing us at this hour. Good afternoon to you, Ariyl. Good afternoon to everyone at home, at work, out and about, or thinking about getting out and about. You're probably pumping the brakes because this is what you have today. And the models have done a really good job in suggesting that the brunt of today's rainfall would be focused to the south of town and to the east of town. And now we're starting to see that movement towards the north and the east. It's really I-20 that's covered up here. So work with me here as I kind of walk you through the current and present rainfall situation in terms of where we're finding the heaviest bands of rain. So Rockdale County, here is Conyers there. There's I-20 in red going over to Newton County. A little portion of Walton County from Social Circle going up to Walnut Grove, even into Monroe. Let's take you out a little bit further, getting into Monroe County there. Madison, some lighter showers there, but heavier on the north end of the county. And then down here in Jackson Lake as you approach Butts County, going down into portions of Jasper County, you have a pretty heavy cell. Why do I point out these heavy cells? Well, yeah, generally on just an average old rainy day, seeing some reds and yellows, well, that's nothing to really write home about. But the issue is today, these cells and this shield of rain altogether is moving so slow. and it's moving very slowly across the area. It is creeping and crawling. And so that leads us to another scenario here. And we're going to play around with this just for a moment, Ariyl, because you're going to see a couple different views here. But I want to show you something that we call the rainfall rate. And rainfall rates are based on if a cell set in one place for 1 hour, how much rain would be gathered. So this is what we have here. This is our strongest cell right now. Once again, it kind of converges around the Jackson Lake area, and you have a rainfall rate of about 1.5 inches. So that's to say, if that cell did not move for a 60-minute period of time, that area right there alone would get 1.5 inches of rainfall. We already know the ground is soggy. It's been raining for multiple days at this point, and so anything that you add to that, especially beyond 1/4 or 1/2 inch, is going to lead to some problems. Why would I point out this area once more? Not only because it is a cell that is dumping the most rain at this time and it's moving slowly, we have to watch out for areas that are near bodies of water. That's why I've been concerned about things south and to the east of I-85. We call that lake country. As you get further away from the metro area, you get into an area where you have Lake Oconee, you have Lake Sinclair, especially out there, Putnam, Jasper, Greene counties. But in between here, you have Jackson Lake. And so what feeds into lakes? Rivers. What feeds into rivers? Streams, creeks. And so it's those areas of concern as we continue to get scores and scores of rainfall that will continue to, at some point, start to roll over their banks. Now, we haven't seen any of our lakes or any of our rivers in flood contention just yet, but there's some areas that we're going to be watching, like Big Creek up there in Alpharetta. We'll be watching that, and also in parts and portions of Newton County. So I want to take you here, and Ariyl, at any point in time when we are running out of time, just let me know, jump in here. But we have that flood watch. It continues for all counties in green here. If your county's not in green, just add yourself to it. Just go ahead and paint it green. Get a green crayon and throw it in there, because everywhere across North Georgia, based on our larger atmospheric setup, is ripe for rainfall. Right now, the impacts are greatest between I-85 to the south, either side of I-20, with the shield of the heaviest rain over Butts, Henry, and Newton counties, now going into Walton and into Monroe counties. Who would be next? Likely Clark, Oconee counties, along with Barrow and Gwinnett, eventually getting up into Jacks, Banks, and Hall County. We're going to keep that flood watch around until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. That means, yeah, we have one more day to go through it. Here's some of the hot spots. Over the past 5 days, it's really been a 3-day rain event, but 5 days as we go over to Covington, just to the north of I-20, as you get closer to that Walton County line and Newton County line, 8 inches of rainfall just outside of Social Circle there. That is a lot of rain. You don't need me to tell you that. Go down here to Locust Grove. This is South Henry County, along with the southeastern portion or the central portion of eastern Spalding County, along with the southwestern portion of Butts County. That's real close to Jackson Lake. Jackson Lake hasn't got a whole lot. They're getting it right now. 8 inches there, though, close to I-85. Hop over here to Cleburne County, and this is where the epicenter of what has been some deadly flash flooding there. More than 10 inches of rainfall in a very short period of time. And I should add this in before I send it back to you all together. We're seeing those amounts really start to build up here inside the perimeter, inside 285, in between about 2 and 4 inches. We have to watch out here because we don't have so many bodies of water in our neck of the woods, but what we do have, we have a whole lot of concrete, and concrete and water do not go together. So 67 degrees is the current temperature at this hour. I want to leave you with this, Ariyl. It appears that today we're going to reach a record, and it's going to be our lowest high temperature ever recorded for what is the third day. Is today. It is now what is today? It's the third or fourth day of the month.
It is the 4th day of the month.
4th day of the month. Okay,
yeah.
I'm making sure I got that right. So I'll pull the right stat.
Yep.
The 4th day of the month. This will be what will be considered not the coldest, because the coldest is back in 1950 when the temperature didn't get above 55. But in terms of hitting that high temperature, the last time we had a high temperature that was colder than this was never. That was before the records were even taken, or if it has ever happened. Generally, if we were going to hit on the low side, it was going to be somewhere in the 70s. I had a sheet of paper over there, and of course, I'll break that down over the next few hours that we're on. But, you know, the records are not in yet. The day is not young, but it's growing old by the
Jonathan.
second here, and I think this is going to be one for the record, but not just for the rain, but definitely for the temperature as well.
Amen. And you know, this just has my brain, my wheels turning, and I just have to ask. So we're getting all of this rain, right? Yeah. If the temperatures are cooler, this is pretty unprecedented for August here in Georgia. What is the cause of this? Are there any other global phenomenon or effects that are giving us, if we take a zoomed out big picture view, that's causing what we're experiencing?
I'm not leaving you, Ariyl. I'm going to grab my notes here because I am a note taker, and I
can't wait.
I have the liberty to bring the information that I've written down a little bit earlier. So it's an atmospheric setup that you've heard us talk about for years, or maybe it's the first time you ever heard about it. We call it a wedge, and that's maybe a colloquial name, a common name that you want to call it. But basically what you have here, the atmosphere has been something this year that I've noticed that I haven't seen in some 12, 13 years of forecasting, is really enduring patterns. So we just don't get something that comes in, it stakes out for 2 or 3 days, and it's in and out. Our patterns have grown. They're weeks and 2 weeks long. So what we're seeing here is something that generally just happens over about 24 to 36 hour period. And here's the setup here. This big high, this big H, and I like to call it happy weather, that's sinking air. And what tends to happen is it floats right across the Great Plains, moves in to the Ohio River Valley over the Great Lakes. What is kind of unusual for this time of the year is for an area of low pressure to ride the coast. And I'm talking about the coast of Georgia here. So whenever you get a big H and a big L really close together, that drives up your wind. The winds get really strong. They're basically trying to fight it out here. And so they have a little friction going on. And so that drives up the wind. And so you have some drier air that's trying to flow in, but I think it's the low pressure that ends up winning because it's in the water.
It is.
It has water.
It got it.
It has a whole lot of water. It's loaded.
So Jonathan,
the waters are warm.
I am loving nerding out with you right now because you and I can go about weather all day long, and I know I want to come back and ask you some more questions about how this low pressure is going to affect us moving forward. We are going to get to some other news, but I'm going to come back and pick your brain, rest assured. So don't go anywhere.
There's a lot in here, and there's a lot that likes to come out of here, or even more that likes to come out of here. I'm going to leave you with this stat.
Okay.
Our maximum temperature, like our high for the day, this bendy lowest on record is 77. That was back in 2006.
Wow.
We'll
Incredible.
Definitely top that today.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Jonathan, thank you so much. Okay, guys, bringing it back into studio, we want to transition to some news that we've been following here in our newsroom. Patience is wearing thin for one Georgia mother after her son was killed 6 months ago. And there's been no answers after he was shot and killed. Our Kevin Stewart joins us from Douglas County. Kevin, you've been tracking the latest from Douglas County. Why is this mother so frustrated? Can you give us the details on the investigation?
Yeah, basically, she has been waiting since January 29th for answers. Just last week, we talked to her, and she said, either this is a case of self-defense or murder. She is confident this is murder. Her child, Malachi Mitchell, 21 years old. I want to show you a picture of this young man. He grew up here in Douglas County. Today, we had a group of community activists and 2 state lawmakers who gathered in front of the Douglas County Courthouse this morning. Her son Malachi was shot to death, as I mentioned, on January 29th while selling a gun. Investigators say a second gun was used to kill Mitchell, but that person has not been charged or cleared. And we are a little more than 6 months later. We do know the information on this case has been passed to the DA's office, but there has been little to no communication with the family or the public. And that's one reason why State Representative Sylvia Wafer Baker was here today.
So one of the things I want to talk about, Kevin, is we're going to take a listen in just a little bit potentially and get an understanding, because we were listening to this news conference earlier today. And one of the things that they were talking about, you could feel the mother's frustration. You could feel her pain. What are some of your big questions as a reporter covering this story? What stood out to you from that news conference earlier today?
The raw emotion. I've talked to Kenya Mitchell multiple times over the last 6 months, and she is clearly very hurt. and baffled as to what happened. This story didn't come about typically how most deaths come about. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office did not provide a press release on this. Most law enforcement agencies do tell you when something happened. And so she reached out to the media and wanted to know why we weren't covering this. So that, kind of gives things getting off to a bad foot. Let's just say that. And she's just been really hurt and believed. She's basically called it a cover up. And she's had a groundswell of community support. And that's why she's actually had a chance to have two lawmakers come out and say, hey, what's going on? They're saying justice delayed is justice denied. I mean, certain people, obviously, we don't know exactly what happened. Investigators are trying to figure that out. But because of the lack of transparency, they allege, it makes people feel uncomfortable, and this mother, more than uncomfortable, but angry.
Absolutely. And Kevin, following this story, you can just see how she has not given up, and she wants to make it her mission to get those answers, because her son goes to, exchange in a weapons sale, right? Goes to buy a firearm, and in process of this, he ends up dead. And so now the family's saying, where did this go wrong? They're understandably trying to understand more about, hey, who is this person that may have shot and killed him? Why are they not being charged? And with state lawmakers now asking for more getting involved, do you think that will sway the investigation or have any effect based on what you're seeing?
Well, right now, the case, as we reported last week, is now in the hands of the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. And they did tell me this morning, just before the investigation today, before the news conference today, that they expect to have a finding within 30 days. So we should have some resolution either way within 30 days, and we'll continue to check on that. But yeah, this has been a really puzzling case because of most law enforcement agencies are not to provide all information because they want to protect their investigation, and I think that's fair, and I think that's what everybody wants. But because Douglas County put out a videotape statement, I think it was about a week after the media coverage and a week after the shooting, that was the only public statement, and because there hasn't been this kind of communication with the family or stories out there in talking to journalists, it's allowed for a lot of cloud of mistrust. And that's one of the reasons why I think state lawmakers came out there today and say, hey, we want transparency. And so will that force anyone's hand? Likely not. In fact, I remember in that videotape statement, the sheriff's office made a point of saying, hey, we're not going to be paraphrasing here. We're not going to be swayed by media coverage and public pressure. And so they did wrap up their investigation and pass that along to the district attorney's office, where we do expect to have a resolution within 30 days.
Kevin, thank you so much for your hard work on this and for keeping us up to date. I'm sure this won't be the last we speak about this story. Okay, guys, bringing you back in studio. It is time now to take a break. We'll see you on the other side. One of the biggest stories we want to get to is a new face entering the Senate race here in Georgia. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. Well, welcome in. I'm Ariyl Onstott. Thanks so much for streaming with us. If you're in our YouTube chat, drop a comment. Let us know what you want to know about today. We're going to be getting back to some more weather and news for you in just a little bit. One of the biggest stories we are tracking is former Vols coach Derek Dooley entering the race for U.S. Senate. And for a lot of us here in Georgia, we know him as the son of legendary UGA coach Vince Dooley. Deidre Dukes following this news for us. Deidre, significant announcement today as we look at the race for this Senate seat.
That's right, Ariyl. That announcement coming this morning via a video campaign announcement. Dooley running as a political outsider. In that campaign announcement, he said that Georgia needs new leadership in Washington, D.C., and he said that U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff is part of the problem. Now, Dooley has never held public office, but he is really leaning into that. He said that he has not spent the last 30 years climbing the political ladder. He says that he has instead been working during that time, he said, with young people on their hopes and opportunities, working with them and their families, saying that those individuals come from all walks of life. He also noted that he is a Trump supporter, saying that he would work with President Trump, and also noting that he would put Georgians first. And as you said, Ariyl, he also comes into the race with the strong name recognition as the son of legendary UGA football coach Vince Dooley.
And Deidre, it's really incredible as we look at this to understand who else is in the race and who Governor Brian Kemp or President Donald Trump may be backing. Do you have any insight on this?
That's right. Of course, Congressman Mike Collins and Congressman Buddy Carter had already announced their candidacy. They are also running to unseat Senator Ossoff. Now, it is important to note when you start talking about, Ariyl, what is going on behind the scenes in this race. Of course, Governor Kemp, a very popular political figure here in the state of Georgia, has not publicly endorsed a candidate, but we are told by political insiders behind the scenes that he is behind the scenes working for Dooley. And of course, a number of top Kemp advisors are currently working on Dooley's campaign. Now, as that is going on, we also have heard that reportedly there have been conversations between Governor Kemp and President Trump, and that President Trump, who has not endorsed anyone in this race so far, is not really convinced that Dooley is the right candidate. And so he has reportedly indicated that he will not be backing Dooley, at least in the primary. And of course, both Congressman Collins and Congressman Carter are both also ardent Trump supporters. And so it will be really interesting to see, as far as the GOP primary is concerned, how their messaging really resonates with Georgia voters during that primary.
And Deidre, I know as you've been looking at this, you've been talking to some Republican strategists and other insiders just kind of about what this means. When we take a look at this, have you heard from, I know maybe you spoke to Brian Robinson about this. Did he have anything interesting to say?
That's right. We did talk to a GOP strategist and Georgia gang member panelist, Brian Robinson, about how the candidates who are now declaring their candidacy for this race, how this could play out as far as the primary. And here's what he had to say.
Georgia Republicans, hear me now. We can win this thing. Georgia Republicans can win this thing. But Jon Ossoff is not going to be a pushover. He's going to have massive amounts of money. He's got some name ID. He's got the power of incumbency and the ability to help people around the state as a U.S. senator. And the party in power in the White House always faces some headwinds in a midterm election. There are things that are certainly playing out in Jon Ossoff's favor right now. Let's be aware of that. We have got to be on our game. Georgia Republicans have to play a perfect game to win this. And that includes not going nuts in a primary.
Now, we also, Ariyl, had the opportunity to talk to Democratic strategist Theron Johnson this morning about the way this race is shaping up. And he said that he believes that Senator Ossoff, no matter what candidate he faces in the general election, will be on strong footing heading into the general election. And this is what he had to say.
really looking at something that's very unprecedented. Democrats are united. We have one candidate, and that's United States Senator Jon Ossoff. No matter who emerges from the Republican side, that person will be battered and bruised, and it would be a very, very chaotic and messy primary. Jon Ossoff will benefit from that because he will basically be able to use some of the things that came up during that primary fight, but more importantly, it gives him more time to prepare to whoever the nominee is going to be.
And Ariyl, it's really also important to note that the GOP really sees this race as one of those races where the Democratic incumbent is really in one of the weakest positions as far as the Senate race. And so they do believe that they really have a strong chance of winning this seat if the right candidate enters the race and takes him on for that general election. And it's clear to see just even with Dooley making his announcement today that what has already been a race that garnered national attention is doing so will be even more high profile heading into the 2026 midterms. Ariyl?
Deidre, you've said it so well. And, you know, it's very interesting to see how opposing camps respond when a new face enters the race. You can tell how threatened they may or may not feel. So this will be one to watch. And thank you so much for breaking this down and analyzing it for us. Okay, guys, it is time. We're going to go ahead and see you on the other side of something really quick. We're going to take a quick break. One of the things I want to get to is a look at the weather as we continue to move throughout the afternoon. We're going to show you which areas are experiencing the heavy rainfall and analyze a bit of those flooding risks. We'll be right back. Well, welcome in. I'm Ariyl Onstott. Thanks so much for streaming along with us. Whether you're joining via YouTube or listening to us on the radio, joining us on Fox Local, it's great to have you here. One of the biggest things affecting all of us today, no doubt about it, the rain. And our meteorologist, Alex Forbes, is actually out tracking this live for us. And Alex, I'm wondering, can you tell us where you're at and what you're seeing right now? Oh, Alex, your shot might be frozen. Let's see. We'll give you a minute to let it come back. I hear you. Okay, great. I see movement. Let's go for it.
All right. Yeah. So we're in the Fox 5 Storm Chaser. If I flip it around to the roof here, what you're going to see is, one, a lot of people getting off here at Georgia 20, but also the rain now coming down a lot steadier than it was when we last talked about 30 minutes ago in DeKalb County. I tell you what, if the leaves weren't on the trees, this would have the look of basically a winter day. You get the steady rain. It's not these isolated pop-up storms that we see sometimes this time of year. And cloudy and it's rainy and there's even a bit of a breeze. Now you see here on Interstate 20, obviously a lot of water on the road, and that's going to continue as we keep moving our way towards Covington and eventually towards Greensboro, as these are the spots that have seen the most rain here over the last little bit. Checking out Fox 5 Live Viper, notice the steadier rain is building up toward the north, right? So if you're watching from Gwinnett County, you're looking at a lot of this steady rain. If you're watching from up into Jackson County and into the Athens area and all the way up towards Gainesville, and this blob, if you will continue to slide through the north during the evening commute. So if you're going from Atlanta up into Gwinnett or just going around Gwinnett, going around Walton County, you're going to be looking at images like this here on Interstate 20 for the better part of the evening. Now, this rain is going to continue on and off through the day tomorrow. We have a flood watch in effect until tomorrow evening for widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain. But Ariyl, isolated amounts could see upwards of about 6 inches before all is said and done.
Alex, just incredible as you're tracking the conditions out there. I do have to ask, so in our YouTube chat, I'm gonna pull this up right now. It seems we have some people talking about the weather, which is great, letting us know what to expect. And Christopher Fowler says he remembers August weather like this in the 1970s would stop our yearly before school startup trips to Six Flags over Georgia. So it seems this may not be anything new, August rains, but maybe the temperature right now is kind of unprecedented.
Yeah, so this, I believe today, we are actually in danger, if that's the right word. We are threatening to break a type of record that we don't break very often, and that is one of the coolest high temperatures, right? So Atlanta's temperature today has been in the upper 60s and low 70s, and if we stay cool enough through the afternoon, that means every other, what is today's date, August 4th, will have been warmer than this one. So that's the only record that's in jeopardy here. The Six Flags flooding, 2009 sticks out in my head. Certainly not looking at anything like that. This is more of just a strange pattern, if you will, for August in terms of what we call
It seems as Alex is driving, the cell service might be a little wonky. So I see Alex actually, I see his mouth moving again. We may have to move on from him for a little bit. We're going to get back to Alex to see which areas he's tracking here throughout the Atlanta Metro and what are his concerns as he looks ahead at the weather for today. But just keep in mind that flood warning is in effect until tomorrow evening because of all the heavy rain that we're getting here in the Atlanta Metro. So we'll keep you up to date. But I do want to let you guys know, as we continue to look at the headlines around our area, one of the biggest stories or one of the things that we have been tracking is a recent rash of shootings over the past weekend. And one of the things we want to keep you up to date is how local organizations want to support the victims of violence. And so we want to get to Greg Jackson, who is with the Rocket Foundation. Greg, I don't know if you can hear me, so we're going to try this out, see how you're doing, and let's see if you can let us know how your organization is launching a fund to support victims of violence. See if you can hear me. Okay, we're going to see if we can get back to Greg in just a little bit. We're going to check back in with him. We'll see you on the other side of this break in just a couple minutes with more news and weather. Well, welcome in. I'm Ariyl Onstott. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Quavo and the Rocket Foundation have launched a trauma emergency response fund to help support victims of gun violence. And we've experienced this in a rash series of shootings over the past weekend. So I want to bring in Greg Jackson, president of the Rocket Foundation. Greg, can you hear me? How are you this afternoon?
Yeah, I can hear you well. I'm doing great. How are you today?
Doing great. So I wanted to ask why you wanted to launch this response. What is the driving factor in this?
You know, sadly, gun violence is a huge public health crisis in our country. It's the leading cause of death for youth, but also the leading cause of death for Black men in America. And we know that Atlanta has been struggling with this issue for quite some time. And while we were seeing historic reductions, last weekend, over 49 people were shot. And 5 of them were lost, and 2 of the individuals had a direct connection to the Rocket Foundation, one of which, Coach Ball, who coached his own football team, was also someone who worked in the community to prevent violence and had participated in multiple of our events. And the Offenders Alumni Association that he was hired by is actually one of our grantees. And so we just thought it was on our duty to try to do all we can to help those over 50 families who were traumatized and impacted by a tragic weekend.
This is just heartbreaking, especially when 2 people involved in your organization are affected by this. I'm so sorry that you guys are having to go through this because no one should. How does this trauma-informed therapy help people? What is trauma-informed therapy?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're providing grief counseling to one family that lost their son, and then to the students and the athletes that were under Coach Ball. We're going to provide 3 sessions of therapy in partnership with our Cure Violence Offenders Alumni Association to make sure that those kids are processing grief and trauma in a healthy way. And we know that being traumatized by violence can lead to future incidents, can lead to retaliation, but it also can lead to long-term harm. And we don't want these young folks who lost their coach to navigate through that. I'm personally a survivor of gun violence, and I know how heavy these moments can be. And so we have to be there to provide as much support as possible.
Greg, you've worked with President Biden. You have worked a lot when it comes to mitigating gun violence. What do you see are the biggest risk factors, and how is we as a community combat that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest risk factors is exposure to violence. In our country now, we're seeing that the driving force behind interpersonal violence is really violence between 2 individuals that share a community, and they have a moment of crisis and they lash out with access to a firearm. But a lot of the reasons why they lash out is because they've been traumatized in the past. And so a huge risk factor is really treating that trauma, being exposed to violence. And then secondly, we got to think about how do we provide more resources to improve the quality of life for individuals to hopefully, reduce the likelihood of someone getting to that moment of crisis. And that's where employment services are huge, where housing stability is really important, quality education is really important. And at the Rocket Foundation, we are really proud to partner with 10 organizations across the city of Atlanta that are providing everything from therapeutic care to job training to even recreational activities. And we know that having a full-rounded quality of life is critical when you're trying to prevent or at least reduce the likelihood of someone going through that moment of crisis.
Absolutely. Hurt people. And if we can stop this from the beginning, we can be a part of the change. So I want to ask you a 2-part question here as we get ready to wrap up. First of all, if someone's listening to this and they want to take advantage of the resources, how can they do that? And then how can we help you guys continue this mission?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned hurt people. At the Rocket Foundation, we were founded by Quavo and his family after the loss of Takeoff. And frankly, we really believe that healed people can heal people. And so the more we can help folks heal and navigate this trauma, the better. And so right now, if folks are hearing my voice or seeing this, we encourage you to reach out and partner with some of the local organizations that are doing this really life-saving work. Our friends at Mothers Against Gang Violence, Hope Hustlers, the Offenders Alumni Association, Urosol Wellness. And if you go to our website, you can see all of our grantees that we partner with. And we would love for you to think about supporting them. We also encourage you to donate to the Trauma Fund. All the resources that are donated will go directly to those who have been traumatized by that tragic weekend. And you can help us help those communities heal and navigate this really, really challenging time. And then lastly, even if you don't want to open your wallet, we just encourage you to open your heart and find someone in your community that's suffering from the crisis of violence and be a helping hand. Right now, 1 in 5 Americans know or have lost someone directly to gun violence. And there's unfortunately survivors all around us that need support.
Greg Jackson, thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing a little bit about how we can get involved and help stop this issue in our community, because it does take a community focus to make this difference. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for streaming along with us. You can continue to drop your comments in our YouTube chat, where we'll be taking a look at them to see if you've got any questions about the weather or news headlines that we've been getting to throughout this afternoon. We're going to see you on the other side of this. When we come back, we're going to be checking out what to expect with your weather forecast. We'll see you back here. Well, welcome back. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We're continuing to give you a live look throughout the metro at what the weather conditions may be near you. So I want to go out to our Chris Rosenthal, who is tracking some river conditions for us. Chris, how's it going? Where are you at? And can you tell me what you're seeing?
Yeah, I'm over here in Coweta County, actually at Coweta Riverside Park, right on the border of Coweta and Carroll County. Why they call it a Riverside Park, I'll show you here. This is the Chattahoochee River. You can see it's up pretty good ways. I actually got out here a couple of hours ago, and it was raining pretty good at the time. Water levels were coming up. We've had a little bit of a break, and water's come down some. You can actually see some of the mud and sediment left over here as the water levels coming back down. We're starting to get a little bit of drizzle though. We do have a rain gauge, which shows that these water levels are above normal. They rose to about 9 feet or so, I believe, overnight, and then came back down around noon to about 7 feet or so over normal here at the Chattahoochee. You know, this is all we're south of the city, so this is all the water coming through, from Lake Lanier all the way through the city, all the way down south. We'll eventually end up in the ocean. So, as far as the roads are concerned, been driving around on them. That is actually Highway 27 up there, and roads seem pretty clear. I didn't see any accidents as I was coming through. People seem to be, driving pretty conscientiously, but just keeping an eye here on these water levels, getting some rain coming through some more drizzle coming down. You can probably see it there in the water.
Yeah.
So we're gonna keep an eye on this here.
Chris, thank you. I can definitely tell the river is higher than usual. You can see right where it lines up with the grass there on the bank. So thanks so much for giving us a live look. I want to transition to see if we can speak with meteorologist Alex Forbes about what he's seen and where he's at. Alex, what do you expect for the afternoon?
Yeah, so here in Covington now in Newton County, where the rain continues to come down at a pretty steady clip here, we're actually getting back on I-20. My photographer, Eric Lynn, and I were talking a couple minutes ago, and I told him I had only ever driven through Covington. I had never actually been to Covington, so we just went and checked out the town, and now we're getting back on the interstate. We're going to continue to head out to the east, which is where the steadiest of this rain is going to continue through the afternoon hours. This blob of rain that you see on Fox 5 Live Viper is continuing to lift towards the north. And Ariyl, to be quite honest with you, if I didn't know better and if I didn't see the leaves on the trees, I would totally think that this is like a winter, rainy, cool day. And it is cool outside. It's just not the winter kind of cool, right? At least it's 70 degrees instead of 40 degrees.
Oh, man, Alex, I could not agree more. It just Sunday definitely had that fall wintry feeling, the overcast of the sky. I said it's too soon, but, what do I know?
Well, and it's a good point, right? It is too soon because we are not going to see this persist for very long. I think we'll see some similar day tomorrow in terms of a lot of rain with some storms mixed in as well. We'll see this river here on Interstate 16. But as we find our way towards the back half of the week, we see more of the summertime storm variety. It's not going to be as warm as it was as we saw last week, right? We're going to say mid to upper 80s instead of mid to upper 90s.
Alex, thank you. That makes sense. It makes sense that we're going to have this for a good time, but not necessarily a long time. So it may feel too soon, but enjoy the break and the temperatures while we have them. Alex, thank you so much for giving us a live look and letting us know what to expect. Guys, if you are picking up your kid from the school bus, maybe you are just waiting for them to get home and you're making a peek out the window to see if they're going to come to your stop. Maybe you're going to pick them up. Safety is always front of mind, whether you're driving, whether you're picking up your child from school. Everyone wants to make sure that their child stays safe. And it takes a community effort. We can all do this. And I want to remind everyone, because it is about that time kids are getting home from the school bus, penalties for passing a stopped bus. This was recently signed through Addie's Law. You could face a minimum $1,000 fine, up to 12 months in jail, 6 points on your license, and license suspension is possible, especially if you're a driver under 21 years old. You could also face felony charges, especially if someone is hurt or killed. So passing a stopped school bus, no bueno. School zone cameras are also now live, so they're active during school hours. The summer is over. Your first offense, $75. Your second offense, $125. And excessive speeding may result in an additional $200 super speeder fine. That speed limit may vary, so it's best to just drive under the speed limit when you're going through a school zone. Look out for that yellow crossing sign and flashing lights. Take caution and just stay alert. I want to bring in Captain Braithwaite from Alpharetta Police. Captain, I want to make sure, can you hear me? Because we want to discuss this a little bit more with you. Let's see if you've got me.
I hear you well. I'm at a conference, so I want to make sure you can hear me as well.
I got you, Captain. I got you.
All right. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit more about how we can help make sure that families and kids stay safe when it comes to getting on and off the school bus this year.
Well, I mean, you laid it out handsomely. Everything that you said is exactly right. But, at the end of the day, what we need is for parents, number one, obviously leave early, give yourself enough time so that you don't feel like you have to rush to get your child to school. And also to commuters as well, leave early enough so that you don't have to race to try to get to work, to get to the office, and you're passing these school buses. And at the end of the day, this is just all about safety. So we're asking you just to be aware, be vigilant, slow down and be aware of the school buses.
Captain, I have to ask, what are the common mistakes drivers make? Because maybe you think, hey, I'm a careful driver. I would never drive around a stopped school bus. But maybe it happens more often than you think. What are the things, pitfalls drivers can fall into?
Sure, it does. It does happen. And quite frankly, I think you already even know the answer to that. One of the biggest problems is just distracted drivers. Drivers not paying attention because they're on their mobile phones or they're doing, whatever, and they're just not paying attention. When we typically pull these individuals over, it's just what they say. Oh, I didn't even see the school bus. I had no idea it was there. And the reason is just because they weren't paying attention. They were distracted by something else. So please put the phones down, pay attention, slow down. And quite frankly, we want you as you're driving through these school zones, just picture that that's your child's zone that you're going to and think about it that way and slow down.
Yeah. Captain, I have to ask, are there areas in Alpharetta that people should be mindful of as they're looking through, as they're driving home or in their commute? Are there particular areas where they can get it in their mind, hey, I need to slow down in this area. This is where I could run into some students, where there is a school zone?
Sure. So in Alpharetta, we have 7 zones. And actually, I'm giving you information I probably shouldn't. We have 7 zones right now. 2 of them are down. So we actually have 5, and that's due to construction. But one of the things also, too, that we run into when people go to court that I didn't know, those 7 zones that I outlined to you, they are properly marked. You'll see lights flashing, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not like it's sneaking up on you or that you need to, you're not aware that you're in a school zone. It's very clear that you're in the school zone. So like I said to you earlier before, if you put the phones down, not be distracted, you're going to be very aware that you're in a school zone. So slow down.
It makes sense. I think distractions can get the better of us, but putting the phone down, staying alert, it's super important. For those who are unaware, can you give us an overview of some of the penalties you may face or things that could happen if you were to, number one, speed in a school zone or pass a stopped bus?
Sure. So, and you put it out right before I got on. You said it perfectly again. If it's a school zone camera, it's going to be your first offense is going to be $75. Any subsequent offense is going to be $125. And then for the school buses, if you pass those, it's going to be $1,000 as you saw it. Now, however, when I'm talking about the school zone cameras, those are 75. Those are because the cameras are the ones getting you. If you happen to get stopped by a patrol officer, doubt those fines could be increased, and it could be different for speeding in that zone. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah. Different tiers, kind of, in the process.
Yeah. Now, it won't be both, right? So we won't have one of the officers, they won't stop you, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you get one in the mail. But if you want to get one, the one you want is the camera one, because that one's going to be $75. If a officer actually puts you on the street, it's going to be a little bit more if they pull you over themselves.
And Captain, while I have you, I have to ask as well, it's going back to school time for, I know, a lot of new drivers as well. And we know that people will be going back to driving school and doing some different things to get their teens maybe out on the road, maybe trying that for the first time. What's your advice to teen drivers or those getting behind the wheel for the first time?
I say the same. Actually, the teen drivers, they may feel a little bit more alert because of the nervousness than, some of us adults. But I share the same thing. Again, just be careful, slow down, pay attention, don't be distracted. And just leave early and take your time. And for teens, for adults, my message to you is when we're driving in these school zones, I mean, just like Whitney Houston said, our children are the future, teach them well and let them lead the way. Let's give them the opportunity to lead the way. Slow down and please be careful, because what we're doing here, this is merely about safety, and all we want to do is keep our children safe.
Captain, you've said it so eloquently, and I think sometimes we take things for granted and can guess at our own knowledge and think certain things would never happen to us because we're always on it. But it is really good to just be aware, put the phone down, make sure you keep your distractions to a minimum. So, Captain, thank you so much for taking time from your conference to come speak to us and give us a refresher on school bus and traffic safety as we head back to the classroom.
Thank you. And on behalf of our organization, too, I want to thank you, your media outlet, for putting this information out. So thank you, too, for getting us out and helping us educate our public and our community, because like I said, at the end of the day, this is about safety for our children. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Captain. Okay, guys, I'm going to bring you back here in studio. It is about time where we're going to send you to our News at 4. But first, I just wanted to thank you so much for streaming with us. It's been a pleasure having you. If you're joining us on the radio and you've been listening along, what a treat for us to have you with us. If you're in our YouTube channel, you're dropping some comments in the chat. It's been great talking to you, hearing your feedback to some of the stories. You can always comment in our YouTube channel and talk about what you're enjoying and what you want to see. And don't forget, you can stream us right here, Fox Local, in the app, palm of your hand on your cell phone or on your smart TV. So thank you so much for streaming with us, and we'll see you again here tomorrow at 3 o'clock.